So how's it going, guys? Welcome to my review for Pokemon Gale of Darkness XD for the Nintendo Gamecube. I'll be playing it on the Wii. Very excited to have this first style of review here. So we've got the footage ready to go. It's going to be a great review. So this is one of those lesser known Pokemon titles. Still a popular title, but I've always had a deep affection for this game and the game that preceded it, Pokemon Coliseum. This is a sequel. And I wanted to start off with this game because this is the game that I was currently playing, and I figured why not review it for all of you, because there's a lot of people who are fans of these games. So Pokemon Coliseum and Gale of Darkness go by the Orre games by fans, and they share a similar theme. These games take place in a different region that's exclusive to the GameCube. This is way different than what we've seen in the handheld games. This region features an overworld. You still go into towns and everything, but unlike the handhelds where all the towns are connected and everything, you'll go to the overworld, you'll pick where you want to go. You can't exit out of any town. You have to walk to the edge of the town. So it's an interesting to have an overworld in the Pokemon game. It sets it apart. Just to diversify it, I guess, from the handhelds, they tried something different. And this is not a game that was produced by Game Freak. It was Synardi Studios. I believe that's how you say their name. And this game is based around the premise of Shadow Pokemon. Unlike the handhelds where it was all about catching Pokemon out in the wild and battling 8 gym leaders and then making your way to the Elite Four where you'll ultimately win and be inducted into the Pokemon Hall of Fame, this game has none of that. No gym leaders, no Elite Four. There is wild Pokemon, which was implemented into this game. Because Coliseum didn't have that, and they made a lot of different choices. And the funny thing is, this game takes place in the same region. You will be visiting a lot of the same towns, so if you played Pokemon Coliseum, you'll be right at home. You could jump into this game. And there's really like not a lot to explain other than that, because it's a pretty similar game. Any differences will be explained to you in game. But if you're new to this, this game is based around Shadow Pokemon, and you're going to have to catch these Shadow Pokemon from your antagonist in this game, which is Cypher. It's an evil organization. They're researchers that are using science for the sake of evil. They're closing the door to Pokemon's hearts. They're turning them into Shadow Pokemon, using them weapons so they could take over the world. I guess that's what they're trying to take over. They're just trying to do a lot of bad things, basically. So it's your job to use your snaging machine, which is given to you at the beginning of the game, and it's a device that enables you to throw Pokeballs, Great Balls, Ultra Balls, whatever ball you want. Throw your balls at these Shadow Pokemon, capture them, try to treat them with love and care, battle them, carry them around your party, and then when you're ready, you could open the door to their hearts. They implemented a new system to purify, where you could actually purify multiple Shadow Pokemon, unlike in Coliseum where you would have to take them to a town, and which is a gate village, and you would bring them before a ancient stone, and they would be purified. And you could only do one at a time, basically, and they have to be currently in your party. The new chain way that they did it, this is actually not very convenient. It's annoying, and I still prefer to do the gate village because it takes so damn long, this other process, and it's a very convoluted process where you have to chain all these Pokemon together to purify others, and I just don't like this system. I'm sorry to say, I like that they tried to implement something to try to quicken the pace of the game so you didn't have to do one at a time, but I don't like this system at all, so I don't use it. But anyway, this is a really entertaining game. They implemented wild Pokemon in this game also. It's done a little bit differently. You could go to Poke spots. You don't have to use the snagging machine. You leave out Poke snacks. They'll come to these spots. You'll have a little device that will notify you when these Pokemon show up. You could battle them, dwindle down their health, make sure you don't make them faint, of course, and then you can throw the Pokeball and you can catch them, and you don't have to worry about purifying them or anything like that. And you'll get rewards for catching certain rare Pokemon as well. The thing is about Shadow Pokemon, the same problem kind of persists from the last game about this. In order to catch them, you have to catch them during battle with a Cipher agent. And the thing is, what's different, which makes this more difficult than, say, in the handhelds, where, you know, it's just a wild Pokemon battle. You could have 6 Pokemon with you up to a time. You could use all 6 of them against that one Pokemon, and most of the time that Pokemon won't stand a chance, unless it's at a much higher level than you, but it's usually a very rare case in the handhelds. So, you'll battle this Pokemon, you have to make sure that it doesn't faint, but, you know, that's easier said than done sometimes when you're in a really tough battle, and you're barely surviving the battle a lot of times because you're battling up against Pokemon that are at almost nearly the same level. You might have higher levels, and you know they might have like 4 or 5, sometimes 6 Pokemon with them at a time. So you have to like really strategically make sure that you battle smartly, and that, you know, you're gonna have to use weaker moves, kind of like you do in the handhelds. You got to make sure you got to battle in a weird way. You got to make sure that you don't accidentally make that Pokemon that you want to catch faint, and it's really annoying if you do. They've also set up a system where you actually can catch the Pokemon that you make faint by accident. And you could do that at the hands of a returning villain from the last game, Meyer B. He shows up, and he will have these Pokemon that you know, after they faint, they flee from battle if you fail to capture them. So that's good. So you don't have to feel like you're stuck if you don't catch them, because I think that there was a few Pokemon that would not show back up in Coliseum if you failed to capture them. So that takes a lot of the anguish out of that, so you really don't have to worry so much if you battle them, but you'd like to catch them right there on the spot. That's probably ideal, so you don't have to waste more time doing more battles, because you'll be battling a lot in this game. You'll find that you're going to battle more frequently in this game, just like in Coliseum, than in the handhelds. So if you don't want to be battling every 2 seconds, this is probably not the game for you. Now, there's a lot of battling in the handhelds, but I just feel like it happens more frequently here. Almost everybody you talk to in this game wants to battle. Even not just the Cipher agents, but people in the towns battle. And there's a lot of the same locations in this game as there was in Coliseum. I mean, that all plays into the story. After all, you're in the same region. You'll see Pyrite Town again. You'll see Agate Village, as I mentioned before. Phoenix City, which seems to play a much bigger role in this game. There's a whole Cipher scheme going on there that's pretty interesting, where they're actually kidnapping people in the town, and Cipher agents are impersonating them, and this leads to numerous lines of humorous dialogue, so I enjoyed that part of the game. And this game, I like the writing in it. I think that actually it has a lot better writing in it than some of the handheld games. There's some funny moments. They tried different things, and that might be the fact that a different studio worked on the game. Many people say that this is a more adult-oriented game. It's a darker theme. I don't really think so. I don't really think it's that dark. You know, is it any darker than Lavender Town from Pokemon Red and Blue? You know, probably not. The whole idea that the Pokemon are evil and shadow Pokemon, I mean, I guess that's where that comes from. So, you know, the battle system, as you can see, is a lot like it is in the handhelds. You know, you've got fight, you've got your items, you've got hyper potions, you got revives, you got HP up, you've got protein, you got carbos, you've got iron, all the you know, you could do X accuracy, all that stuff, the same stuff, same items. And so, you know, you'll feel right at home. You know, even if you didn't play Coliseum, you'll still feel right at home. A lot of the battle mechanics are the same. One thing I don't really like about these battle mechanics is it doesn't give you the option to switch Pokemon during the battle after you defeat one Pokemon. Oh, you can go into your Pokemon and swap them out. I mean, I don't mean that. You know, you could do that and you could lose a turn by swapping out Pokemon. But what I mean is, in the handhelds, when you would defeat one of your opponent's Pokemon, a message would come up and say, you know, do you want to switch Pokemon for the next turn coming up? And I don't know if they couldn't figure out how to do this, because every battle is a double battle in this game. You know, when you do manage to acquire a second Pokemon, there's going to be double battles up the wazoo. The only time it is a single battle is when you go to battle one of those wild Pokemon at the Poke spot. That's the only time that you'll have a single battle in this game. So you don't get to switch out. That message never comes up. So you have to just make sure that if you're looking to level up a certain Pokemon, you have to have them, you know, at the top of your party. Well, in this case, it's going to be on the left side of the screen. You'll see the two Pokemon there, and the ones that, you know, are kind of blown up more, that their names are the bolder, and the ones on the left side of the screen, they're going to be the ones that are going to be battling. So I don't like that, and especially because Coliseum didn't have this, and since they adjusted a lot of things in this game, I thought that was something that they definitely could have adjusted as well. The other thing, what I was going to say, is getting back to the Shadow Pokemon again, is I noticed that it's a little bit easier to catch them this time around. I just thought that it seemed a little bit harder last time. So I just wanted to bring that up real quickly, you know, because there would be a lot of times where it really is excruciating during these battles, and you know, you're sweating, you're at a frantic pace, you know, your health is dwindling down. The one thing that they took out of this game that I have to say that I really admire that they did is they took away the recoil moves from the Shadow Pokemon. As I said, it is like a fucking pain in the ass catching these things half the time, because you have to dwindle down their health, you have to use these weak ass moves, hoping and praying that they're not going to faint. And then they would have this move in Pokemon Coliseum in the previous game. They're shadow moves. These are moves that they could only know while they're still shadow Pokemon. They're impactful moves, but they would cause recoil damage. So you'd be dwindling down their health on these shadow Pokemon, and then they would use the recoil move, and they would end up hurting themselves, and sometimes a Pokemon would end up fainting. And you like slap your head and you're fucking like, oh my god, you've got to be kidding me. You put in all that work and effort only to have the fucking thing make itself faint. So thankfully they took out the recoil damage on those shadow moves, which removes a little bit of the headache, but it's still, you know, a pretty stressful situation during the game, to say the least. But that's part of the fun. I mean, this is what I gotta say. I really get a kick out of this game. I think it's a lot of fun. It's different than the handhelds, and I appreciate that they were going for a different feel, a different kind of story, instead of having, you know, and they started doing this also in Sun and Moon, when you kind of think about it. You know, they broke away from the gym leaders. They broke away from, you know, some of these staples of the series. And even though I can never get tired of that formula, you know, even though it seems like they're straying from it with Sun and Moon, you know, I'm all for trying new things while still keeping a lot of the same staples of the series. You know, and the Orre games really seemed like they tried to do that. And, you know, I don't know why we haven't seen anything like this on the Wii or the Wii U or the Switch. You know, we got all these Pokemon Stadium style games, and the thing is, you can battle just like you did in Coliseum. There are battle modes in this game, but I've never played them. I don't really care. I care about the single player on these games. I feel like that's what their main selling points are. It's funny, though, that the name of this game is, you know, more synonymous with the actual theme of the game, Gale of Darkness, when Pokemon Coliseum that kind of just sounded like it was a Pokemon Stadium game. Maybe that's why some people might have like passed it up, because maybe they weren't interested in that because it didn't sound like a core title. And it's not a core title, but it didn't seem like one of the RPG style games. Um, so they just called it Coliseum. So I guess they kind of wised up with Gale of Darkness and figured, let's just give it a better name that lets people know that there's something single player going on about it, that's the main attraction here. So I don't know really what their idea was with Coliseum, if that really was supposed to be the main attraction, the battle mode, or was it supposed to be the single player mode, because judging by the name. But anyway, so they made a little bit of tweaks, but it really is basically like the same game, more or less, just with different events happening. Like I said, it's a lot of the same towns, and this is why a lot of critics seem to have a problem with Gale of Darkness. They felt that it was too much of the same stuff, but fans who really like this, I would like to see a third Orre game. I'd love to go back to this region after more than a decade's absence from it. It would be fun to go back and revisit some of these characters and these locales and go back and fight Cypher or Team Snagem. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting characters here. There's a lot of interesting locations. And there's you've got a mad scientist here. You've got different locations that just don't really seem like anything that's similar from the handhelds. I mean, it's completely different. It felt fresh. So it'd be great to return to it one day. But I don't know if Nintendo really has that in the cards. I mean, you'll go online, you'll see that people are talking about this game, but not to the extent of the handhelds. So I don't know if we'll ever return to this region. If you're gonna ask me, I'd say probably not. They've got so many plans for Pokemon in the future. This is probably the last thing on their mind. These were just games that they basically put out on the GameCube just to kind of give people to kind of quench their thirst when they were asking for console Pokemon adventure games. And this was good. So I don't know why they waited so long to do other ones. I mean, obviously we're gonna get a core title on the Switch, because now that technically is a handheld system as well. So I don't know why they waited so long, but this is a great game. If you haven't played this or Coliseum, I would recommend it. I'd say play both. Which game is better? I think there's a few more features in Gale of Darkness. I feel like the plot feels a bit more complex. I feel like there's a bit more. I do like the fact that Wes seemed like a cooler, like, anti-hero from Coliseum, as opposed to Michael, who's just a kid. But hey, both of them are good games. Both of them are worth your time. It's really fun, just going on an adventure and meeting all these different characters, just like with the handheld games. The graphics are good. All the Pokemon look good. They might not all be here, but a lot of the more popular ones are. And the thing is, with the difference was they didn't have a lot of Pokemon from the Kanto region in Coliseum. It was pretty much all Pokemon from either Gold and Silver or Sapphire and Ruby at the time, because Sapphire and Ruby had just come out earlier that year. So they were really trying to push those Pokemons. But now we've got some Kanto region red and blue Pokemon in this game. And so, there's a more diversified list than there was the first time around, where they just kind of capped it off at 50, I believe. And not all of them were great. I feel like there's better choices in this game. Better choices of Pokemon. More Pokemon that you'd rather have on your team. Stronger Pokemon. I feel like I had a better team, and I had a better team faster in this game. And also, one of the greatest things about it is that you get an Eevee at the beginning of this game. You had the evolved forms of Eevee to start off Coliseum. You had Espeon and Umbreon. But this time around, you get an Eevee, and you could have an Espeon, you could have an Umbreon, or you could be like me and choose a Jolteon. Because I had already played with Umbreon and Espeon previously in Coliseum, because that's the game I was actually playing before I played this one. So I kind of, to freshen things up, I went with that. But you could also have Vaporeon and Flareon as well. It's all up to you. You know, you get to have a choice in this game. You could have one of the stones to evolve them, or you could wait and develop your friendship with them, and they could evolve into Espeon or Umbreon. So there's choices in this game, and choices like that kind of make this game feel a bit more open. And so anyway, like I said, play both of these games. They're fantastic games, especially if you're a big fan like I am. And you want to explore the universe and, you know, just generally have a good fun adventure. Do something different than the handhelds. It was a good idea. It's an idea that I would like to see expanded upon in the future, but it's a rare case that might happen again. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the review. Many more video game reviews to come. Until next time, guys.